You can't get away from people that might diminish you, but you always have a choice not to let it in. And I promise you, not letting in criticism will change your entire life. Now, years ago, if you got rejected, you would die. When we lived in tribes were very smart. If you didn't behave, if you were a bit lusty or weird or stole stuff, they just kicked you out of the tribe and you had to go and fend for yourself. And every culture understood that. We marooned difficult sailors. We literally dropped them off an island and said, get on with it. You can't be on the boat anymore. We put difficult prisoners in isolation. Parents understand that we send naughty children to their room. And where my father lives, there was an 11th century church and it had a banishment window. And that meant that if you didn't conform to the little village you lived in, they literally kicked you out, but you had to come and crouch by this banishment window in all weathers when the service began. You had to run away before it ended because you were not allowed to talk to anyone. And in Romeo and Juliet, when they said, we're going to banish you to outside the city walls, he went, well, I'd rather be killed, frankly. I mean, there's nothing out there but purgatory. So once upon a time, you could die from rejection. It could end your world. But now you can't. We could also, I'm going to live in a little apartment with 10 cats, get all my food delivered, and not see anyone for 60 years. You could live until you're 102, because you can't die from rejection. It just feels like you can, but you can't. And no one can reject you unless you give them permission. They can say mean things, horrible things, but you can choose not to let it in. And so all my clients who have success have been so rejected. They've been dumped, they've been fired, they just come back. So if you make a decision, I can't be rejected. Sure, somebody can say something mean, but you don't have to let it in. You can say they're mean, they're having a bad day. They're mean because they're unhappy. Critical people always have the most criticism reserved for themselves. And a critic feels so bad that they want you to feel bad. So they'll try and diminish you or elevate themselves. Can I take your pen for a minute? Any pen will do. So this is a seesaw. Here's a critical person and here's someone else. And in the critic's mind, the person at the other end of the seesaw is actually up there. And they don't really like that. So what a critic will do is embellish themselves. I've got more money than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm more intelligent than you, I'm superior to you. They'll either embellish themselves, or if they can't do that, they'll diminish you. You're stupid, you haven't got any money, you're ugly, or you're fat, whatever it is they want to say. But all they're doing all the time is trying to make you go down and then go up. And they can only do that if you agree. And I find with critics, the best thing to say is, thanks for sharing that. I don't have to let it in. People can say whatever they like, thanks for sharing that. Because critical people usually feel bad about themselves. And a miserable man, once I've had a more miserable man, then he's happy. But you don't have to do that. So you can't get away from people that might diminish you, but you always have a choice not to let it in. And I promise you, not letting in criticism will change your entire life. The amount of my clients who said, you know, I went to a school reunion, oh my God, there was that bully, and I went up to them, and they didn't even remember bullying me. And they said, oh, well, it was just fun. And some of them went, but I was so jealous of you because you had such nice clothes and you spoke well. And I just was so jealous of you, but I had no idea how much I'd hurt you. I didn't mean it. You see, no one's sitting at home thinking, I'm going to reject that person. I'm going to not call them, and I'm going to sit home going, I'm rejecting them. We just forget to call people. We forget stuff, but no one really sits at home trying to reject another person. I mean, how many of you have had to dump someone or fire someone? Put your hand up. How many of you got immense pleasure from doing that? Oh, there's no hands left. No one keeping their hand up? So I got so much pleasure from rejecting someone. It made my week. I fired someone. I did a little dance. I dumped the person I was dating and felt blissful. I divorced my partner and I celebrated every minute of their pain. Anyone here done that? No. So if people who do reject you, they really don't get pleasure from it. And it's not up to them, it's up to you. So the third thing about very successful people is that they come back from rejection time and time again. Do you have a show called Dragon's Den in this country? The Dragon's Den, great. There was a guy who went on Dragon's Den with a suitcase called Trunky. And he pulled it along, and the dragons picked it up, and they pulled off the strap and said, this is garbage. Look, the strap's broken. He said, you know, I was so hurt because that was just a design fault that could easily be fixed. They would imagine pulling that one to the airport, and the strap breaks, and the kid falls over, and this is dangerous. And they really humiliated him and made him that big because a strap breaking on a prototype is nothing. It was a prototype. It wasn't the finished article. He said, I went away and thought, screw you. I will not allow you to hurt me. And I got the strap fixed. And how many people see Trunky at airports all over the world? Sure, they're little suitcases you carry along with the kids sitting on it, or they carry it along. And he's become a multi-millionaire because he didn't do rejection. Anyone got a Tangle Tweezer hairbrush? Anyone know what they are? Yeah, they laughed at him out of the thing. They said, that's crazy, it's just a hairbrush. Someone else made this little design for wonky tables in bars. I went, that's what beer coasters are for. But all of those people went away and thought, no. And actually they did better, much better, because they didn't have to give half their money away to the dragons. The same thing on The Apprentice. Some of the people who got fired have actually done better than the people who won. So it's your choice whether you let rejection hurt you or not. Now here's the fourth thing about people who are naturally successful, and I love this. They delay gratification. They tend to be born like that, but a lot of them learn it. So you probably all know about the Maslow Marshmallow Test or the pretzel test, but if you don't, I'll tell you. So this test has been done many, many times. So they put some children in a room with a marshmallow or a pretzel, and they said, okay, if you don't eat that in 15 minutes, you'll get a second one. Or you can eat it, but you only get one. And three things happened. One group put it in their mouth immediately, said, no, I can't wait. It's so yummy, I need it now. And they shoved in the marshmallow. The second group just said, no, just sat there and said, I'm going to wait 15 minutes and have two. But the third group turned their chair away, made faces, played with their nails, did all kinds of, they had to distract themselves. And then they too got the second marshmallow. And then they studied these children as they grew older, and they said the ones that naturally delayed it and the ones that made themselves delay it had incredible success at delaying gratification. And again, it's a choice you have to make because we come onto the planet wired to get a reward. And if you take the reward first, it's very confusing to your mind. So here's what we do with children. We go, tidy your room, and then we'll go to the park. Finish your homework, then we'll have dinner. Eat your vegetables, then you can have an ice cream. So children understand about delaying gratification, and they like it. If you say to your kid, we'll go to the park and tidy your room when you come home. You can have ice cream first and then eat the carrots. Go out to play and do your homework whenever you like. What happens? It doesn't get done. It's a bit like doing what you don't want to do. So what you have to do is to make little things your reward. So let's imagine you've come home from work and you've got to call someone, you've got to do some paperwork, you've got to do some research, and you go, right, I'm going to watch my favorite show, I'm going to have a lovely dinner, then I'm going to do the work. You know you're not going to do it. But if you go, right, I've got to do this paperwork, and I've got this wonderful dinner, and I've got this great show, I'm going to tape the show, and I'm going to do that first, and see the normal things I do anyway, as the TV and the dinner, as a reward. You start to get your brain to recognize rewards, and you do stuff first. So even if you have a lovely coffee every morning at 11, what you need to do is go, I'm going to do these things first, and then the coffee's going to be my reward, and I'm going to really savor it. I'm going to say, this is my reward for doing that. Because if you delay gratification, you just feel like a winner all the time. And what happens too is that once you start to see things as a reward, you go into feeling rewarded all the time. So even at lunch, you can go, okay, so I always think, right, I really need to eat something, and I need to have a lovely tea with coconut milk, but first I'm going to do some bits of stuff, and then I'm going to really enjoy that. It's my reward. And I always in my day, well, I'm going to call someone I really like, but that's going to be my reward for calling someone I don't like. So I'm always getting these reward things set up, and they're very simple. I don't even notice I'm doing it, but it's a very good thing to do because it wires me to feel I'm always being rewarded, whereas if I just take the reward and I don't do the work, then I feel like a failure. Because if you don't do what you're meant to do, you can't enjoy it. You think, okay, I'm not going to work. I'm going to go out for the whole day and leave all my in tray. And then the whole day you can't do it because you're thinking, God, I should have done a bit of that. I should have made that call. I'm at the beach, but I can't really enjoy myself because I'm so riddled with guilt because I didn't just spend, it was 10 minutes. I could have done that in 10 minutes. I left it. And so people who are successful tend to feel good about themselves all the time because they have this habit of delaying gratification, rewarding themselves after and not before. And you should do that as a person, but you should also do that as a parent, and you should do it as an employee because you have much better people that work for you. So do you all get that? So how many of you do any of those 4 things naturally? Good. How many of you have made yourself do those things and it started to feel natural? How many of you don't do those things? And how many of you never put your hand up no matter what the question is? That's okay. You can learn to do that too. So I want you to think of these 5 things. Do what you dislike. Do it first. Take action every single day in the direction of your goals, even if it's just for a few minutes. Don't do rejection. Don't do no. You know, doors can shut in your face. People can say no. You know, when I wrote a book, my first book I wrote and I sent it out, and I remember that feeling of the thud because it's your manuscript coming back through the letterbox. When it comes back, nobody wants it. And I had the strangest situation happen to me. So I wrote this book and I sent it out and it got rejected. And it got rejected a lot, but I was determined to have it published. And then I found some publisher and she said, well, I can give you £2,000 to publish that book. And it was a terrible, and I thought, well, you know, I'm really desperate to get it out. And if I just, this is before self-publishing, if I just get it published, I can go on the road and do lots of talks, and I can make that book a bestseller. And I was just about to give it to her when I met someone else who said, do not give it to her. Trust me, I will get you a massive advance for that book. It's an amazing book. And so before I'd seen the person with 2,000, I'd been to a few books. I'd sent it to, I had a different agent who wasn't very good. It's before I met J.K. Rowling's agent. And I sent it to some, one of them was Virgin Books, and Virgin Books had come in. They said, well, we quite like this book, but we want the beginning at the end and the end at the beginning. Can you change it around? I went home, I changed it all around. Back I went, well, yeah, we really like it, and we will give you £10,000. But I knew that wasn't enough because I'd had a book published before, years before, and I got way more than that. And then they gave me all these hoops, and then they finally said, oh, we don't want it after all. And I was really disappointed because I did so much work, we don't want the book. So I'd gone from 10,000 to 2,000, then I met this agent who said, no, you leave it with me. But you can't have it published for a year. I'm like, a year? They went, yeah, a year. I'll go quickly. I'm like, okay. So I left it with her, and true to this person, they sent it out to everyone, and there's a really strange thing happened. I was putting on a little workshop, and I didn't sell any tickets, so I thought, I'll have to cancel it now. My agent called and said, that workshop you're doing at the weekend, Penguin are coming, and HarperCollins are coming, and someone else are coming. I said, I've cancelled it, you should put it back on. Give everyone free places, but they're all coming to see you. So I rang out all my friends, and they all came. And at the end of it, people were standing in a queue to talk to me, and the first person was Google, and they went, oh my God, I love that. Can you come and do that for Google? And I'm like, yes. And the next person was this publisher. And they said, oh my God, we love that. Come on Monday morning, we're going to give you a deal. We're going to give you £150,000 for this book. And I'm like, okay. And my agent said, oh no, you've got to go and see all the others first. And then, so they came back on Monday and said, well, we'll give you 160 if you don't go and see any of the other publishers because you got them all lined up. So I'm like, fine. I like these people. They were so nice. They turned up. They offered me 160 grand. I took it. And Virgin Books wrote to me and said, how dare you not even come to see us? We would have given you 150 grand. I'm like, but it's the same book you wouldn't give me 10 grand for last year. I don't understand. And they wrote me this really rude letter and said, that's a really terrible thing. We would have liked a chance. You should have come for the meeting. This is very unprofessional. We would have matched that fee. I'm like, really? Because you wouldn't even give me 10. And I met them at the launch and they said, oh, you were very silly not to go with us. And they still couldn't quite understand. It was the same book. And so they rejected it. It got rejected a lot. And then the people that rejected it said, we would have given you 150 grand for that. you went to the wrong person. I went to the right people. They were a lovely publisher. I'm really glad I stayed with them. But you see about rejection. I remember that feeling in my stomach when that manuscript was landing on my doorstep, because I sent it to so many people and they sent it back and they sent it back. But I didn't quit. I knew it was a great book. I knew it would be published. And it was. And then I've published 3 more since then. But it's all to do with your mindset of, do you let rejection hurt you, or do you just go, no, I'm just going to keep going? And Winston Churchill, when you're going through hell, keep going. So do what you hate or dislike first. It's the second one. Take action every day. Your book lands on the doorstep, just pack it up and send it off. J.K. Rowling said, you know, when I wrote my book, I spent $2 on a little folder and I sent it off. When it came back, they hadn't put it in the folder, and I was a single mum with no money. I had to go out and buy another $2 folder and send it back. And I was rejected so many times until finally someone, Christopher Little, took Harry Potter and said, let's see. And it's become a huge book because she didn't sit at home and go, no one likes it. Some of the most successful people in the world have been rejected. Some of the people you would look at on television, you wouldn't imagine how much rejection they've had. But successful people just take it on the chin and keep going. And then delaying gratification. That's really, really important. So you're all committed to, I want you to say, I'm going to adopt these, I'm going to embrace them, I'm going to make them my own. It's going to be what I do, but if I do it enough, it's going to become who I am. So we're all clear on that. So finding your purpose, becoming wealthy, requires you to do these 5 things. Anything that you want badly enough will require you to do something different. If you enjoyed that video, check out the next one right here. You can also click the link below right here for your free gift. The only thing you need to find love is a belief that you are lovable. Reprogram your subconscious mind for success. Remember, it has a job.